The dry, Amarillo air hung heavy and still. It was the kind of quiet that always felt like a prelude to chaos. For days, Detective Marcus had been hunting a shadow named Trey, a suspect wanted for a string of armed robberies that had left the community on edge. Marcus knew his man was close. He could feel it in the tension that crackled through his unmarked sedan. Trey was a ghost, slipping through their fingers time and again, but every ghost leaves a trail. This time, the trail had led them to a dilapidated motel on the outskirts of town, a place where secrets went to die. Marcus reviewed the file on his passenger seat, the face of Trey staring back at him, young, defiant, and cornered. The tip came from a nervous informant, a whisper of a gray Mustang hidden behind the sundown motel. It was the break they needed. Detective Marcus coordinated with uniformed officers, including Officer Nitro, a veteran known for his calm under pressure. They assembled a perimeter, a silent, unseen net closing in. Each officer knew their role. Their movements were practiced, a choreography of caution and readiness. They approached the motel room, number 113, with weapons drawn. The air was thick with anticipation. Marcus gave the signal, a simple hand gesture that spoke volumes. They were a team, a single unit moving with one purpose, to bring a dangerous man in without anyone getting hurt. Suddenly, the door to room 113 burst open. It wasn't a surrender. Trey bolted, a blur of motion against the peeling paint of the motel wall. He was faster than they expected, fueled by pure desperation. He sprinted toward the back of the lot, his eyes locked on the prize, the gray Mustang parked under a flickering security light. The officers shouted commands. "Police! Stop! Don't move!" But their words were lost to the wind and the pounding of Trey's heart. He was a fox breaking from cover, running for his life, ignoring the inevitable truth that he was surrounded. The chase was on, and the quiet night was about to shatter into a million pieces. Detective Marcus watched Trey leap into the driver's seat of the Mustang. The engine roared to life, a guttural cry of defiance that echoed across the empty parking lot. It was a powerful machine, and Trey knew how to use it. The tires squealed as he peeled out, kicking up gravel and dust, aiming for the one gap in their cordon. Marcus was already in his car, radioing the suspect's direction and vehicle description. "All units, suspect is mobile, gray Mustang, heading west on the access road. He is armed and dangerous. Do not let him reach the highway." The call went out, and a dozen engines from across the city responded, their sirens beginning to wail in the distance. The hunt had moved from the shadows to the open road. The gray Mustang was a bullet on the dark streets of Amarillo. Trey weaved through the sparse, late-night traffic with reckless abandon, his only goal to disappear into the vast Texas landscape. He pushed the car to its limits, the speedometer needle climbing steadily. In his rearview mirror, the flashing lights of the police cruisers were like angry eyes, relentless and closing in. Officer Nitro was right behind him, his own engine straining to keep pace. He anticipated Trey's moves, calling out turns and potential routes over the radio, coordinating the citywide effort to box him in. It was a high-stakes game of chess at over 100 miles per hour, where one wrong move could be fatal. The chase stretched for miles. The police department threw everything they had at it. Spike strips were deployed at key intersections, but Trey was cunning, swerving onto side streets and dirt roads to avoid them. He was fighting with the desperation of a man with nothing left to lose. He knew that capture meant years behind bars, the end of his freedom. That thought pushed him to take more and more risks, running red lights, driving on the wrong side of the road, and endangering every citizen who happened to be in his path. The officers had to balance their duty to catch him with their responsibility to protect the public, a line that was becoming increasingly difficult to walk. As Trey approached a major intersection, he saw his chance to break free. But the police were one step ahead. Officer Damaged, a rookie with only a year on the force, positioned his cruiser to block the escape route. It was a brave, calculated maneuver designed to end the pursuit. Trey saw the blockade and made a split-second decision born of panic and rage. Instead of surrendering, he slammed his foot on the accelerator, aiming his 2-ton steel missile directly at Officer Damaged's car. The impact was horrific, a deafening crunch of metal and glass that echoed through the night. The powerful Mustang had met an immovable object. The gray Mustang was a mangled wreck, its engine smoking and silent. The chase was over. Trey was trapped inside, injured and unconscious, his desperate bid for freedom ending in twisted metal. Paramedics rushed to the scene, working quickly to extract him and Officer Damaged from their vehicles. Officer Damaged was conscious but in pain, his leg badly broken in the collision. He had put his life on the line and paid a price, but he had stopped the threat. Trey was taken into custody, his last stand a testament to his poor choices. He would face justice, not on the open road, but in a courtroom, his fate now sealed by his own violent actions. Later that night, the precinct was a hive of quiet activity. The adrenaline of the chase had faded, replaced by the somber reality of its aftermath. Detective Marcus and Officer Nitro sat in the briefing room, nursing cups of stale coffee. They talked about Officer Damaged, who was stable at the hospital but facing a long recovery. They felt the weight of his injury, a stark reminder of the risks they all took every time they put on the badge. It was a dangerous job, but it was their job. They chose to stand between order and chaos, and sometimes the chaos pushed back hard. The mood was heavy with a mix of relief that the chase was over and concern for their fallen colleague. They dissected the case, going over every detail of Trey's crime spree and his final desperate run. Why did he do it? Why did a young man with his whole life ahead of him choose a path of violence and destruction? Marcus believed it was a cycle of bad choices, each one leading to a worse one, until Trey felt he had no other option but to run. There was no single answer, only a sad story of lost potential and wasted life. They discussed the evidence, the witness statements, and the charges that would be filed. Justice would be served, but it felt like a hollow victory when one of their own was hurt. The conversation turned to the nature of their work. They saw people at their worst, on the worst days of their lives. It was easy to become cynical, to lose faith in humanity, but they held on to the belief that what they did mattered. They were there to protect the innocent, to catch the guilty, and to uphold the law. It was a heavy burden to carry, but they carried it together. They were a team, a family bound by a shared sense of duty. They supported each other through the tough times, like the injury of a fellow officer, because they knew that their strength came from their unity. They were the thin blue line, and they would not break. As the night wore on, they finished their reports, the clacking of keyboards filling the otherwise silent room. Each word documented the events of the evening, creating an official record of the chaos. It was a necessary, mundane part of the job that followed the life-threatening moments. They knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, new cases, and new dangers. The city never slept, and crime never took a day off. But for tonight, they had taken one more dangerous person off the streets. They had done their duty, and as they prepared to head home, they carried the weight of the badge with a renewed sense of purpose and a heavy heart for their injured friend. The next morning, the sun rose over Amarillo, casting a golden glow on the city's streets. The calm was short-lived. A new threat emerged, not from a desperate robber, but from a group of arrogant street racers. Their modified cars, loud and flashy, tore through the early morning traffic, treating the public roads as their private racetrack. Calls flooded the 911 dispatch center, reporting near misses and reckless driving. For Officer Nitro, who was just starting his shift, it was a different kind of chase, but no less dangerous. These racers were putting innocent lives at risk for a cheap thrill, and it was his job to stop them. Officer Nitro coordinated a response, his voice calm and steady over the radio. He knew that a traditional high-speed pursuit would only encourage the racers and endanger more people. They needed a smarter strategy. He directed units to set up a rolling roadblock, a technique where police cars gradually slow down traffic ahead of the racers, creating a moving net. It required precise timing and seamless communication between all the officers involved. They had to work together as a single, cohesive unit, anticipating the racers' every move and cutting off their escape routes, without escalating the situation into another violent confrontation. The racers, confident in their speed and driving skills, didn't notice the trap closing in until it was too late. The traffic ahead of them slowed to a crawl, and police cruisers appeared on all sides, leaving them with nowhere to go. One by one, they were forced to pull over, their powerful engines falling silent. The drivers, young and defiant, were pulled from their cars, their joyride brought to an abrupt end. It was a textbook execution of modern policing tactics, a victory achieved through strategy and teamwork rather than brute force. Officer Nitro and his team had shut down the threat cleanly and efficiently. Back at the station, the team reflected on the two very different chases. The night before had been about stopping a violent, desperate man. It ended in a crash and an injury, a necessary but costly resolution. Today's chase was about control and de-escalation. It ended peacefully with the racers in custody and the public safe. Both situations required courage and skill, but they also highlighted the importance of adaptability. They learned that every threat is unique, and that the best approach is one that minimizes risk for everyone involved. Their teamwork had been the key to success in both cases, a powerful reminder that they were stronger together than they could ever be alone.